To the penny, I can tell you how much anything is worth. Rick Harrison made a lot of money with those famous words, but his family life fell apart in quiet. Today, we reveal the terrible lies his ex-wife never told anyone on camera, the fake reality show that fooled everyone, and the sad death that calls his whole business empire into question. You will not be able to say anything about what Pawn Stars never showed you. You thought you knew this Rick Harrison. He was never there. There is a man behind the counter of the world's most famous pawn shop whose life story is more interesting and sad than any item he has ever valued. Rick Harrison became America's favorite fixer by letting us into his Las Vegas gold mine for 15 years. But while cameras caught million-dollar deals and priceless artifacts from the past, they missed the company falling apart behind the scenes. A son died of drug abuse. 3 marriages were broken up, and shocking claims were made that the reality show that made him famous was based on carefully constructed lies. It's not just another story about a famous person, it's a warning about what it really costs to be famous in the United States. Before the cameras, the tourists, and the millions of people, there was just Rick, a scared kid from North Carolina who was having seizures that could happen at any time. Rick's youth was shaped by his epilepsy, but it also changed him. While other kids played outside, he was stuck inside reading books over and over again, without realizing that he was building up the encyclopedic information that would one day make him famous. In 1981, Las Vegas wasn't the bright, busy tourist spot it is now. People in the city were desperate and had broken hopes when the Harrison family got there. The ideal place to learn how to become a pawnbroker. Rick did nothing but watch and wait for his turn. In 1989, that chance came up. A father and son scraped together $10,000 to open a gold and silver pawn shop in a hidden part of Sin City. Still not aware they had just made the most important bet of their lives. The pawn shop was open in secret for 20 years, serving the dark side of Las Vegas that tourists never see. Desperate locals traded wedding rings for cash to pay the rent, and players traded watches for one last chance at the tables. It wasn't the cleaned-up version of history that people would later see on TV. It was real business. When things were at their worst, Rick did very well. The call that changed everything then came. The History Channel crew saw more than just a pawn shop. They thought TV was gold. But there was a catch: real pawn shops are sad places where sad stories that don't sell are common. That was the start of the big change that made Rick Harrison a TV celebrity. It's a shocking fact that almost every exchange you've seen on Pawn Stars was staged. Scriptwriters watched from behind the camera and gave lines to both Rick and the customers. Many of the interesting sellers with one-of-a-kind items were actors. The negotiations were often planned ahead of time, and the historical lessons that came up on the spot had been practiced many times. Perhaps most shockingly, 99% of the people who came into the store were tourists hoping to see a celebrity, not real people with things to sell. Americans thought they were watching a real pawn shop, but in many ways it was just as fake as the fake coins Rick was so good at spotting on camera. July 21, 2013. It's in Laguna Beach, California. Rick Harrison got married for the 3rd time under clear blue skies. Guests say that the happy groom had changed into a guy who had finally found his true love in Deanna Burdett, the legal secretary. There were pictures of the stars all over Celebrity magazine. The U.S.'s favorite pawn shop owner had finally found love. What those beautiful pictures didn't show. Deanna's shocking 2025 statements say that their marriage was pretty much over as soon as it started. Rick openly said he loved her, but behind closed doors he was hooked on fame, which was stronger than any drug. In a heartbreaking radio interview, Deanna said that living with Rick wasn't the same as having a husband. It was like getting married to a brand. As soon as the cameras quit rolling, the real man was gone. I never knew which Rick I would get: the friendly, warm man that people loved, or the cold businessman who was obsessed with how he looked. The things Deanna said about living with a reality TV star are very upsetting. Rick is said to have used an app on his phone to keep track of all of the family's spending and questioned every buy Deanna made. She says that when they went on vacation, he insisted on having different hotel rooms, not for privacy's sake but so that his early morning filming schedule wouldn't bother her. She said it was kind, but then I realized he just didn't want me to be around in real life. The most shocking thing she said was that she had power over her public appearances. Rick told me what I could and could not say in public and how I should dress. I talked to a local magazine for a short time about my volunteer work one time. He was very angry and said I was making the company less strong. I knew I wasn't his wife at that point. Rick Harrison Inc. might have had to pay for something I did. By the year 2020, the marriage was over for good. Fans made guesses about why, but at first neither side said anything. Then came the internet's craziest idea: Rick's marriage ended because he allegedly had an affair with Donald Trump. This theory was based on nothing. This ridiculous claim was not backed up by any reliable news sources, but it spread like wildfire online, showing how easily star rumors can turn into crazy conspiracy theories. According to people who were close to the situation, the truth was much less dramatic but still very sad. The man was so focused on keeping up his public image that he lost the ability to connect with real people. Deanna said that Rick knew exactly how much everything in his shop was worth, but he never knew how valuable the things that were waiting for him at home were. The 19th of January 2025. It is 3:17 a.m. and Rick Harrison's phone rings. On the other end, a police officer tells the parents the worst news: Adam, their son, has died at the age of 39. Adam was another victim of America's cruel fentanyl crisis. Rick knew a lot about American history, but he had no idea that he was about to become a sad national number. This is one of the thousands of American parents who lose their lives every year to fake opioids. Rick's public sadness was real and real to life. He wrote this in a heartbreaking Instagram post that got over 2 million emotional replies. Addiction changed my son into someone else. It wasn't the Adam I raised that died. Within days, the pawn shop owner, who was known for being calm during negotiations, became a strong opponent of the fentanyl problem. At news conferences where his voice was shaking with emotion, he called for tighter border security and better help for people who were addicted. In front of shocked media, he said, "My son isn't coming back, but maybe yours doesn't have to die either." Different people had different reactions to this new political role. People who supported him praised his bravery in using a personal loss for a public good. Critics, on the other hand, asked where this passion had been before tragedy struck his own family, and pointed out that he had been quiet on drug policy issues in the past, even though Las Vegas has a well-known addiction problem. The most awkward question was about Rick's friendship with Adam before he died. Not like Corey Big Hoss Harrison, who became famous with his dad. Adam was missing from Pawn Stars for a long time. Former shop workers who asked to remain unnamed said that the father and son have had a tense relationship for many years. One person said Rick tried to get in touch with them many times, but by then the damage was done. You can't miss events in Hollywood and business growth and then become Father of the Year when problems arise. When Graham Bensinger asked Rick in his heartbreaking interview if he felt bad about the choices he made as a father, Rick broke down in tears. He told her, "I replay every moment," with tears running down his face in a way that had never been seen on Pawn Stars. "I told myself it was all for them every time I missed a baseball game or picked up the phone because I was too busy shooting. I was building something they will inherit. Then they're gone and you realize it didn't matter at all." The ultimate irony was shown by this honest statement. It took the man who built a kingdom years of valuing other people's treasures to realize how valuable what he already had was. Rick Harrison shocked his fans when he told them he was going to marry Angie Polushkin just 73 days after losing his son. The Instagram post of a happy pair and a huge diamond ring caused a lot of debate right away. "This doesn't mean I'm no longer sad about Adam," Rick told reporters, defending himself and asking why the timing was wrong. "Even when you're in pain, life goes on." But the sudden news made a lot of people wonder if this was real love or a desperate attempt to run away from your overwhelming grief. People who know Rick well say that he is a man who is desperately trying to change the third act of his life. His gold and silver pawn shop used to be his pride and joy, but now it's just a strange monument that's part business and part tourist trap. People pay $1,000 to be filmed selling things they never actually do. Rick has been getting a lot of attention from Congress for his renewed support against fentanyl. He has testified before Senate committees about America's border security. Some people criticize him for how well it fits with his long-held conservative views, but others back him, saying that real tragedy is bigger than politics. Former co-workers say Rick has become almost obsessed with leaving a legacy, rewriting his autobiography over and over, and starting a lot of charity foundations very quickly. One former director said it was like seeing someone frantically build monuments before the tide comes in. He really wants to be known for something more important than haggling over old toys. People who used to live in Las Vegas will not recognize the pawn shop as it is now. A gift shop that sells Pawn Stars goods, but the pawning itself isn't really important. On busy days there is a queue of tourists that goes around the block. Each person is trying to catch a glimpse of reality TV magic that was mostly fake from the start. Rick's bond with his son Corey, who is still alive, may tell us the most. Corey used to be his on-screen apprentice, but he has slowly pulled away from both the shop and the show, starting his own businesses. According to people who know the family, the father and son's present relationship is friendly but cautious. They are linked more by business interests than by emotional ties. As Rick gets closer to 60, the question is no longer how much his collections are worth, but whether he can save what's important to him before time runs out. The story of Rick Harrison is very American. He was a self-made guy, who turned an inappropriate business into a family-friendly attraction just by being himself. But his trip also shows the worst parts of being famous. When goals get in the way of relationships, they change, putting ratings ahead of authenticity, and the empty win of getting everything you wanted only to find out you were chasing the wrong dream the whole time. The pawn shop business is based on a simple idea. People give up something valuable for cash, hoping to get it back later. In many ways, Rick Harrison did the same thing in his personal life. He gave up real relationships for the quick benefits of fame. He always thought he could get back what he lost later. Las Vegas is always changing, and so is the man who became one of its strangest icons. It remains to be seen if Rick Harrison can find a balance between the figure he played on TV and the complicated person he really is. But his journey is a scary warning that the things we've gathered don't define our worth when the end of our lives comes around, but by the relationships we've kept up. When the cameras stop rolling and the tourists leave, Rick Harrison walks into a pawn shop that is full of valuable things, but missing the things he used to value most: the future of his son, the promise of his marriage, and maybe even pieces of his true self that he gave up for 15 seasons of fame. Before you feel envious of his wealth, ask yourself if you would do the same thing. If you've already done that, is there still time to get your things back? Sign up right away, because some news is too shocking to miss, and some lessons are too important to overlook.